Thanks for hanging around, everyone. This is lesson 2, again using iCivics. Looking at a different program this time. It's called Drafting Board. It's a step-by-step guide to creating an argumentative essay. It forces them, or requires students to analyze the evidence. It then takes the evidence, helps them create their claims, takes their claims, their evidence, helps them put them together into organized paragraphs, and then ultimately they take a look and create their introduction and their conclusions. It does allow teachers some oversight with data tracking, or the ability to look at every different step of the writing process, so teachers can determine if they have a troubled spot one way or another. It is offered for multiple different areas of the social studies curriculum, but being iCivics, it doesn't necessarily go into like math or science or anything like that. There are also, one thing I'd like to mention before we continue, is a lot of different materials that are offered by iCivics, to help, classroom guides, lesson plans, things like that. That's really the first portion of this particular assignment. The second portion of it will be completed through PictoChart. The basic innovative aspect, I guess, of this assignment is they're going to create an essay, an argumentative essay through Drafting Board. But once they do that, they're actually going to have to deconstruct that essay that they just wrote and then try and convey that same argument through a more visual medium like an infographic. For that assignment, I chose to use PictoChart. I chose PictoChart just because it's one that I'm more familiar with. I've used it in the past, just once actually, and it worked really well, so I'd like to give it another shot this coming school year. Unfortunately, it does require an email login, which can be kind of cumbersome and difficult for an entire class to get, but it does give them a creative opportunity to actually visualize an argument versus just writing it in sentences and paragraphs. iCivics itself isn't very versatile. I mean, it is social studies, but infographics are a great way. You can really pair them with any curriculum and allow students to be more creative in that fashion. So let's take a look at Drafting Board, and before we really move on, this is the Drafting Board portion of iCivics.org. Here's an introductory video and all that fun stuff, but what I'd like to point out is there are a ton of supplementary materials here, and some of the benefits of Drafting Board right there. The different curriculum areas, First Amendment stuff, expression, community service, civil rights. There's a whole lot of things here that they can use. The one I chose was the Electoral College. Now, this is where here's more support information. Here's PowerPoints, classroom materials, things like that. And then here would be the means of, monitoring your student progress. Here's practice student. He hasn't started it probably because he's super lazy. But that's where you can get that kind of information. Now, the program itself looks very similar to this, and essentially it's all contained within this one little window. I'm maybe about a quarter of the way through the process so far. I've looked at the evidence that pops up here. I've matched the evidence with some claims and some sentences that the program has provided, and now I need to pick my 3 favorite or strongest claims. In this particular case, I decided to argue that the presidential election should be determined by a popular vote, not by Electoral College. So I could claim that the Electoral College is undemocratic, that it gives political minority people little incentive to vote, and it requires candidates to pay attention to the battleground states and not all the other ones. Then I have to pick my main reason, so let's just say it's undemocratic. So I confirm my reasons, and we can move forward. Alright, this reason is stronger than the others because it just is. Yeah, that sounds like something an unenthused freshman may write, right? Okay, now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. Here's all the evidence for this particular one, and I would say I have to click on this. I can take a look at it, and then I have to determine where does this evidence fit into what claim. And again, this is creating my claims. Then my next step, I'm going to take these claims, I'm going to create them into, or put them into paragraphs. And you can determine the difficulty of this. Do they have to match? Do they have to write this all themselves? That's what you as the teacher get to determine. When you finish and you've gone through all the steps, right? You can always do this and view your essay so far. And since I'm not very far along on this particular example, Of course, I don't have much here, but when you finish, you'll get something that looks like this. This is the finished one. You can see the different colored text here. Essentially, everything in black is what the program did for me. Everything in blue is stuff I added. So it gives you options to add, the beginning of sentences. You can add stats or data. That's essentially what the final product will look like. Now, for this particular project, you take these stats and this, data and everything like that, and you have to put it into your PictoChart or your visual medium here. Now, this is PictoChart's main website. You click it here, of course. Now it's the second page I was on, but you go here. I encourage you to take a look at these. These are all pretty cool, but the infographic is what we'll focus on for this one. There's pro templates and there's free ones. We'll click on the free and we can choose one of these 10. Now they'd have to create an argument, so they could pick one of these, whatever one they like, and move forward in that way. Then, as they kind of move forward, there's a lot of benefits, a lot of pros and cons. What I particularly like, myself here, again, it's engaging. I thought it would be kind of interesting for the competitive aspect of this, since they are trying to convey an argument through visual medium. Sometimes visual images are more successful than others, so I always thought it would be interesting. You could, my secondary portion of this, I'd make a Google form or something like that where they have to take a look at their classmates, and then they could maybe rate their classmates and how effective they are as an infographic. Is it clear? Is it unclear what they're arguing? That kind of thing. The drafting board is very highly structured. It's that, of course, that's the intended purpose, but teaching materials in iCivics are fantastic. It allows you, again, the instructor oversight. Aligns well to the curriculum. Disadvantages. It does not really allow students to be creative in their writing. Everything is pretty much, have to stay inside the box. It is reliant on technology. Again, if the internet goes down, you are out of luck. Basic computer skills, and essentially the setup and the startup of this is pretty time consuming. Transferability, of course, the drafting board, what it teaches as far as constructing an argumentative essay is transferable, of course, to pretty much anything else. But and infographics are transferable, but the curriculum itself is pretty well contained within the social studies spectrum. Some other good aspects, and again, this is part of those. This is the product guide for iCivics and drafting board. This is part of the stuff they give you. Part of the stuff they give you for supplementary information, but there's an audio function where the program will read everything to you. It has graphic organizers, all sorts of good things. It allows them self-assessment where they're going to take a look at the rubric as they go and make sure they're hitting all the steps. It really does a good job, and these are, again, some of the benefits of drafting board. And then one last thing. This is, of course, just the iCivics.org website itself. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, or I haven't sold it to you yet, I guess, it is pretty neat. And again, drafting board and Win the White House are just two very small portions of this. Many more games are located here under the Play tab. You can see them all here. They're all pretty cool. And then under the Teach tab, there's a ton of different curriculum units, lesson plans, document-based questions, and web quests. So if you haven't had a chance yet, check it out. It's a really cool website. Hope you enjoyed. If you can use this, that's fantastic. Hopefully it gave you some new ideas. And I look forward to looking at your guys' videos as well. So again, thank you, and we'll see you guys all in the next class. Thanks. Bye.